James Hunder.
Welcome. Sorry. Shall we all rise, please?
I, James Nyansi Hunder Sr., do promise that the testimony I have come to give to the TRC of Liberia is the truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Please be seated. Welcome and good afternoon, Mr. Witness.
Good afternoon, sir, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. We are pleased to receive you at the TRC and are encouraged that you could take time off your busy schedule to come and share your experience with the people of Liberia through the TRC process as a way of contributing to our search for lasting peace and reconciliation in our country. The TRC was established to provide a forum where Liberians can review the past in a hope that we can establish the truth of what happened, and by that we can understand the root causes of our conflict and together find a way forward. It's in that spirit that we welcome you and say that we'll introduce the commissioners to you. We'll ask a little bit about yourself, and then you proceed into your testimony. For the benefit of our records, can you confirm your full name again?
My full name is James Nyansi Hunder Sr.
Your date of birth, please.
My date of birth is April 25, 1950.
Occupation?
Law enforcement.
Where do you reside in the U.S.?
I reside at 1516 Emerald Street, Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
When did you migrate to the U.S.?
Sir?
When did you migrate to the U.S.?
I left Liberia April 12 of 1985. I arrived here April 13. 1985.
Thank you. And I will now introduce the commissioners. At your immediate right is Commissioner Sheka Fumakone, Commissioner Per Brambu, Commissioner Gerald Coleman, Commissioner Gedeh Dorope. At my immediate right, Commissioner Massa Washington, Commissioner John Stewart, Commissioner Umun Sila, and I'm Jerome Voidier. We say thanks and welcome once more. You may now proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. I'd first like to start by expressing my thanks and appreciation to the Commission and to the Advocate for Human Rights and all the supporters and sponsors of this great historic event for such a great opportunity being afforded us to come and share our experiences, both personal and otherwise. I also want to say that we are thankful for this opportunity for allowing us to confront our past with the hope that through this opportunity we'll be able to have a better tomorrow for Liberia and Liberians. If you will, I do have a prepared statement.
You want to read a prepared text?
Yes, sir.
Is it your own text?
Yes, sir.
Will you share a copy with the commission?
Yes, sir.
Was it prepared from your setting knowledge?
From setting?
Your setting knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
My own knowledge.
So at the end of it, kindly signature it and share a copy with us.
I sure will, with pleasure.
Okay. Okay.
And it reads thus. Honorable members of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, members of the Advocate for Human Rights, members of the clergy, members of the press corps, friends of Liberia, ladies and gentlemen. My name is James Nyansi Hunder Sr. I was born in PZ Town, Todi District, Montserrat County, Liberia. I presently live in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where I am employed with a prominent security company. I am the founder and the current president of the Liberian Organization of the Piedmont, and the Southern Regional Vice President of the Union of Liberian Association in Americas. I am pleased to have the opportunity to appear before you today. I hope that this statement about my experiences, about the experiences of my family, and the experiences of my fellow Liberians is of value to the Commission in its very important work to bring unity and healing to our nation. The events that have brought us all to this point had its roots long before the race riots or the coup of 1980. I was a child of about 5 years old during the 1955 political crisis in Liberia, known as the plot that failed, which took place under President Tubman. During this saga, my father was a supporter of Gedeh Communication, a Tubman rival and a clan chief in Todi District. My father was Bodua Hunder, also known as PZ. I may add that my father, Bodua Hunder, got that PZ name from his affiliation and constant trade relationship with the famous PZ store at the time. He used to sell coffee, cocoa, and things to them. So he became known as PZ. So yes, that became very popular. My father learned that Tubman had implicated him in the 1955 plot to overthrow the government and sent his soldiers to bring my father back alive or bring Tubman, his body. My father had a Mandingo friend who was a soothsayer who gave him a talisman. When he kept his talisman with him, the soldiers pursuing him would become confused. That was his belief. One day, my father was sitting on his porch when soldiers came into the village, grabbing chickens, food, animals, and things. The soldiers came and asked where PZ Hunder was, my father pointed to his left and said he went that way. The soldiers, supposedly under the influence of the magical talisman, became confused, and my father was not harmed that day. After this incident, my father went into hiding for 2 years. When he came back to the village, he again found himself on the wrong side of the Tubman administration. My father was related to Paramount Chief Panak Goba, who happened to be a Tubman supporter. Paramount Chief Goba made every effort to convince my father to join Tubman's campaign, but without success. My father and Chief Goba had a falling out. Goba was made to retain his position as Paramount Chief and later became a member of the Liberian legislature. But because my father did not support Tubman's policy or administration, he lost his position as clan chief and never again sought any government jobs. My father was very impressed by the soothsayer's magical power, which he credited for saving his life. So he decided that one of his children should become a Muslim and train as a soothsayer. That is how, as a young boy, I was sent to a Muslim school. I went to live with my foster parents, Lassana and Ma Musukula Travale Kita, who at the time owned and operated several diamond mines in Basakiam near Wiswa. I was forced to learn only the Quran, but I dreamed of going for formal schooling. I secretly learned to read and write English and was taught by a person in the camp. Thereafter, with the assistance of my kind and loving stepmother, I escaped and went to live with my foster sister and her husband, Mamadi and Fanta Traore Jallo, in the bone mines industrial camp. There, at the age of 14, I was enrolled in formal school at the Zawiyatan Elementary School. I later moved to Monrovia and entered a night school, Student Union High on Broad Street, where my brother, Frederick D. Hunder, taught at night. My high school education prepared me for employment with the Special Security Service, SSS, at the Executive Mansion. The SSS is responsible for the protection of very important personages, VIP, the president and his immediate family, and other special dignitaries. Upon completing the requisite requirement for employment, I was admitted at the National Police Academy for 6 months basic police training. I graduated on July 23, 1971, the very day President Tubman died in a clinic in London, England. All graduates were ordered to report to headquarters for special assignments alongside other law enforcement agencies, so as to maintain peace and stability during such an unprecedented event. President Tubman was immediately succeeded by his longtime vice president, the Reverend Dr. William Richard Talbot, Jr. Upon completing 6 weeks VIP training course in Sester Village in Congo Town, near Monrovia, I was fully assigned to the SSS. By virtue of my frequent assignments told the president, I became known and privileged to accompany President Talbot extensively on local, national, and international travels. On the day of the coup d'etat, which toppled the Talbot administration, the morning of April 12, 1980, I was Assistant Second Shift Commander. My shift had ended at 11 p.m., and I had gone home. I did not know any of the coup plotters and did not know of any plans by the military to stage a coup until the next day when I was awakened by gunfire from the direction of the military barracks. The shocking news of a coup was later announced on the various radio stations. Foreign Samuel Doe's and his People Redemption Council, PRC, forces, taking complete control of the executive mansion. It was announced that all SSS personnel were to stay away from the mansion and its environs until further notice. It was not until a few weeks later when 13 former cabinet members were executed that the SSS was ordered to report for duty. Any SSS personnel previously assigned or close to the late President Talbot was removed from the executive mansion for security reasons. I was reassigned to the post stockade, along with 2 other SSS personnel, Captain Edward Soare and Charles Kimber. The stockade is one of the maximum security prisons next to Camp Beleyala, where high-risk political prisoners were being kept. I was under strict orders to report any clandestine activities of the inmates and other personnel having contact with the precinct. I was later warned by a close co-worker that my assignment to the stockade was a setup so that I could be arrested for passing secret information from high-risk political prisoners, since I knew all the prisoners. The conditions in the post-stockade were terrible and almost uninhabitable. Individual cells individual cells were often overcrowded, poor sanitation, verbal and physical abuses were the norms. The soldiers used constant harassment and intimidations to force the prisoners to demand money from their family members, which they would often not receive. I was assigned to the stockade when A. Benedict Talbot, the president's son, and Vannie Dempster, former SSS and LNPL, which is the Liberian National Police Force director, were kept there. I also pitied the prisoners and started carefully running errands for them, even though I knew it was risky. I ran more errands for more than others. Passing communication from A.B. Talbot, Vannie Dempster, and other inmates to their friends and family was almost a daily routine. I made sure to know the contents of the messages before delivery. Almost all the communications were requesting money from families, friends, to pay guys for favors to avoid harsh treatment and to purchase decent meals, usually prepared by a female political inmate, Miss Angeline Sherman. I remember the last note I received from A.B. Talbot was on a whole roll of toilet paper, which I flushed down the toilet before going back into the office because I suspected at that time a soldier saw me taking the note from A.B. Talbot. A moment later, the post-Turkey commander, Colonel Reed Bowie, summoned all operatives, including his office. Reed Bowie summoned all operatives into his office for inspection because he suspected that personnel were in the habit of passing information to prisoners. I learned the next day that both A.B. Talbot and Vannie Dempster were secretly removed from prison and taken to the military camp Shuffling, where they were gruesomely butchered and buried in shallow graves. I do not know who took Talbot and Dempster out of prison, and I do not know who ordered them killed. But no prisoners ever left the stockade without Colonel Bowie's permission. I also was a liaison between the stockade and Special Security Service when the former PRC Vice Head of State, Thomas Wesson, and 4 other high-ranking PRC officers were arrested for an alleged counter-coup against Samuel K. Doe in August 1981. I befriended and won the trust of many prisoners. I would start up conversations with prisoners for the purpose of obtaining any verifiable information detrimental to state security. But not once did anyone ever admit, reveal, or indicate any signs of involvement in any attempt to topple the Doe government. My assignment was to clandestinely seek and report to President Doe through the SSS director any information detrimental to the PRC government. Like others, I frequently spoke with former PRC Vice Chairman Thomas Wesson. One night, Wesson asked me if I would do him a favor and if I was brave enough to deliver a message to CRC Doe. I replied that I would. Wesson said that he had a message for Samuel Doe. Quote, "Tell Doe, if he causes my blood to be shed, he's going to pay in worst manner," unquote. Quote, "I did not wrong him, I did not go against him, and I never planned with anyone to kill him. So, if he ends my life, his blood will be shared or worse.